Hey everybody, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with the insert for our camera box. So I ended up going a little bit different direction with this than I actually had originally planned. So of course here's our box. I ended up doing more of a folio slash storage. I don't know how to explain this one. Rather than doing a whole bunch of individual inserts. So this is 5.5 by 7.25, or 5 3, yeah, something like that. All lightweight chipboard so that it's lightweight and will slide very easily in here. On the front here, I just have some of the stickers from the collection. And then this opens up. We've got photo mats here and here. This comes down this way, and we've got a pocket. We've got another pocket here, and another pocket here, and another pocket here, and another pocket here. And then we have our center section here, which is held closed with a magnet. And this opens up, and you've got a nice big 1/2 inch high pocket that you can put stacks of photos in here. And then on the sides, or on the side here, I've got just some flip outs. Nothing, except apparently I glued this one to itself, because of course I did. Here, and then it goes out one more time here. So lots of room for pictures. If you wanted to mat individual pictures and journal on the back of them, you can stack those up and slide those in here. This would be perfect for like a short trip or like a one-day visit to one of the parks, Disneyland, Disney World, whatever it is that you may have done. But this one goes together really, really fast, super easy. Like I said, lightweight chipboard so that it will slide perfectly in here. And there you go. And it's got a tiny bit of wiggle room there. So let's get to it. Tutorial starts now. Okay, so this is how this is going to get laid out. You're going to start with 5 pieces of lightweight chipboard, 7 1/4 by 5 3/4. You are going to trim one of them on the side by a 1/16 of an inch, no more than an 1/8 of an inch. You're going to trim one on the bottom by a 1/16 of an inch, no more than an 1/8 of an inch. You're going to have 4 spine pieces. 2 of them are 5 3/4 high, 1 inch wide, and 7/8 of an inch wide. And then there are 2 that are 7 1/4 long by 1 1/4 high and 1 1/8 of an inch high. If you want to expand those out by about an 1/8 of an inch a piece, you absolutely could, but keep in mind that that may make your little folio too tight to fit into your box. You're going to cover the backs of all of these with score tape. Okay, so this is the configuration they're going to go in. I would label them. The top, the center, and the left are all going to be the same size. The bottom and the right are going to be your 2 smaller pieces. Cover the backs of all of these pieces with score tape. And again, this is lightweight chipboard. Okay. And then we're going to cut our cardstock to wrap our large pieces. So, and then of course for our little spine pieces here. So to wrap those, to make it easy, I cut all of the cardstock to wrap that at 9 1/4 by 5 3/4. So there are 5 pieces of that. You are going to have 2 of them that are going to be slightly bigger. It's fine. It's not going to matter. And then for our spine pieces, you're going to need a piece that is 9 1/4 by 4 1/4, 9 1/4 by 4 1/8, 5 3/4 by 4. I'm sorry, 7 3/4 by 4. I know what I meant, sorry. And then 7 3/4 by 3 7/8. Okay. So I'm not going to wrap all of these pieces with you. I'm going to show you how we're going to put these down. So I am going to grab my scoreboard and my spacers. And we are going to start with the larger pieces. So I'm going to put a piece of cardstock in there and just grab one of those pieces. And you're going to do the same thing for all 5 of these pieces. Okay, so I want my 1-inch spacers. I'm going to line that chipboard up in the corner where those meet so that I have a 1-inch border all the way around. So let me get the backing off of my tape. And you can glue these down. It goes down faster and more smoothly doing it this way. If you're using glue, then you're going to have to spend a fair amount of time kind of burnishing to make sure you don't have glue lines, even with good cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to drop that down there. Okay, you're going to do that with all 5 of those pieces, of the large pieces. Okay, then you're going to wrap. So I'm just folding the cardstock around the chipboard, just using my table. I'm getting that little crease on those ends with my bone folder. And I'm going to fold all 4 sides. Okay. And once you have that, you're going to cut out the corners. And like I said, this is going to be the same on all 5 of these large pieces. So I'm cutting out those corners. And then I'm going to fold this in and I'm going to miter all the way around. So you just kind of lay your scissors against the edge of your chipboard and kind of tilt them in a little bit to do that mitering, because you don't want anything hanging over the edge when you're gluing these tabs down on these pieces that we're wrapping. Okay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this is optional, I'm going to go around the edge with my 1/4-inch score tape. I do this because I have some grip issues in my hands, and doing the glue and then having to sit there and burnish fairly hard and whatnot tends to make my hand kind of cramp up and really hurt, and then I can't do projects. So I use the combination of the tape and the glue just because for me it goes together faster doing it that way, and I don't have to worry about, you know, overdoing it and causing myself problems with my hands. So I'm going to get the backing off of my tape all the way around. And then I'm going to come in with my glue. And I'm going to go down along the edge of my chipboard. And then in that center area in between, I'm not getting it on the score tape, although you can, just because if you get too much, it causes your score tape to lift, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to do my 2 short sides first, then my 2 long sides. It really doesn't matter. You can just go around, you know, one after the other after the other. This is just how I prefer to do it. Okay. And the last side. Okay. So you're going to do the exact same thing with the other 4 pieces. Okay. For our spine pieces, we're going to grab the scoreboard again, and I'm just going to grab one at random. This is a 5 3/4 by 7/8, so this is the right hand side spine. This time we need the 1-inch spacer and the 1.5-inch spacer. Again, I just have the back covered with tape, so I'm going to get the backing off of that. And then we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to lay that down using the spacers and put that down. You're going to do the exact same thing with this for the other 3 hinge pieces. We're going to fold and burnish around again, just like we did before. Only this, and then cut out our corners. Only this time we're not going to wrap the whole thing. So you'll see here in just a minute, I got that one just slightly crooked, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out the corners. And on this one, because I'm going to wrap these to the outside on my, when we assemble this cover, I'm actually going to be very careful when I cut those side pieces, so that longer piece, when I miter it, which I'm actually not going to miter that right now. I'm going to go ahead and just do these little top pieces. And I'm going to leave those sides for now. Okay. This one I'm not going to go do the score tape, although you can. I'm just going to use my glue. So we're just going to fold in these 2 tiny pieces on the ends. We're not going to do anything with the side pieces. Okay, so I'm burnishing that down. And you're going to do this exact same step with the other 3 spine pieces. Okay, so that much is ready to go. I am going to miter these just slightly. So I mean, I am taking off a sliver, and that's just so that they're not sticking up over the edge. But because we're going to wrap this to the outside, you don't want to get too crazy with the mitering here, where if we were doing it to the inside, you could. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, you're going to do this exact same process with the other 3 pieces. Okay, so everything's wrapped. We're going to assemble. So I'm going to lay this back out in the configuration that it goes. And you can see I still have where I have my positioning written on the chipboard where I can see it. Okay, and we're going to start in the center here. And you're going to see when I do this, I'm putting this like incredibly tight up against the side. Don't do that. This was the second of this base that I'd made, and once I got it done, I realized it was causing the cardstock to tear, which with artisan is like hard to do. But I put it too close together. So what you're going to want to do is, if you've got your spacers, you're going to want to leave 1/8 of an inch between the edge of that chipboard spine and the side of that cover piece. And you see I am pushing it right up against the side, even though I know better. I think I figured because it was lightweight chipboard it would be okay. It absolutely was not. Oh, see, I did kind of like put it in there and then decide I was really okay. But you can use the spacers turned on their sides to do that 1/8 of an inch that you need in there for that, just that little bit of a gusset so it doesn't tear your cardstock. So, and I am laying this on the scoreboard so that I can use the sides of the scoreboard to keep everything nice and straight. So I'm getting ready to put the top piece on, and you'll see again I put it way too close, and I end up putting all of these way too close. So don't be like me. Actually, think about this before you do it. Yeah, it's always like these really easy ones, you know, fairly straightforward ones like this that I just seem to really struggle with. I don't know why. It's like if it's complicated, I can cruise through it with like no issue. These, I have a horrible time. Okay, so making sure everything's even. Didn't leave enough space, but you know, I pay for that later. Okay, so then I am actually going to end up putting this on the wrong end because I'm totally not paying attention. Because I was like talking to somebody while I was doing this, and that's why I'm doing a voiceover, which, as we all know, I suck at. So I go and I put this on the top, which is not where it was supposed to go, which I guess it probably would have been okay, honestly, because the center and the top piece are both the same size. But don't ask me why. I like get this on here and then I panic and I go, oh crap, it's supposed to be the other way around. Not thinking, you know, hey, these are the same size, genius. Would have been just fine. So you'll see here in like just a second where oh no, maybe not yet. So we're going to put that one down, and then I'm going to realize I have just put this on here wrong. But even though, like, from what I have written down, they're wrong, it's actually not wrong. And like I said, anyway, I still ended up tearing it off of here and moving it down to the other end, even though, you know, had I not been talking, I would have realized that was a completely unnecessary move, but that's okay. I'm just very carefully pulling this apart because, you know, it had partially dried. Yeah, trust me, this whole base was a mess, so it ended up getting remade. But that's okay. It happens. So still trying to disassemble because, again, it didn't dawn on me it was actually fine, but I thought I was screwing things up, and so I moved it around. Anyway, at this point, it doesn't really matter because we're moving on. Other than, you know, I'm still screwing the whole thing up by putting everything together too tightly, but I'm really good at doing that. I do that a lot. You have no idea. Okay, so that is all put together. Now we're going to do our side pieces. So we're going to do the same thing with these side pieces, in that we are going to actually move this out of the way. We're going to attach our spines to our sides before we actually put them on the book. So, because I think I figured that would make it easier, because really it would, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to attach this here. And again, I'm getting it way too close. Leave 1/8 of an inch, at least. If you left, don't go any more than 1/8 of an inch, though, because the way the measurements for this are, if you go more than 1/8 of an inch, then this is not going to fit as an insert into your little camera box. Which, if you don't plan on putting it inside the camera, you'll be fine. Change it up however you want. Okay, so attaching that piece. And see how I'm like all bending it, thinking I'm, you know, doing this right. I'm not doing it right. But that's okay. We all make mistakes. I just don't always edit them out because I figure, you know, if I've done it, you guys have probably done it, and you know, or if you haven't done it, then you'll learn from my mistakes. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit trickier because you need to line this up and see, I'm, again, too busy talking and I'm not paying attention, or I'm trying to put this down and I'm like, why is this not working? Literally, this was late. I should not have been still trying to record at this point. And then I realized, oh, hello, there's supposed to be a spine there. Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. All right, so putting that on there, you just want to make sure it's lined up so that it is exactly centered. I found it easier to have it turned away from me so I could, you know, to see what I was doing there. But however you do it that works for you is absolutely fine. Okay, so again, getting it way too close. You still want your 1/8 of an inch. Because, you know, yeah, I know. Go. Bye. Have fun. Don't forget the present. Sorry about that. My son's headed to a little birthday thing. Okay, so this is all glued together. I let it dry. Now we're going to put our pieces in to reinforce. 2 pieces 4 7/8 by 5 5/8. 2 pieces 7 1/8. Well, I don't remember what it is. Hold on. Let's do these side ones first. This, you do want score tape. You don't want to try to glue this little reinforcement piece in here because it will bubble. It's almost impossible gluing it for it to not bubble. So this, in this case, even if you didn't use tape anywhere else, for this piece, you need to use tape. Okay, so I'm just going to center this on here and lay it down and burnish that down. And same thing on the other side. Again, these are both 4 7/8 by 5 5/8. And the reason they're 4 7/8 is that was just the size of the strip I had left after I cut the other 2 pieces. So all 4 of these pieces came from 1 sheet of paper. So that's why there's like a weird measurement on here. It's literally the leftover after you cut the piece for the top and bottom to 7 1/8. Then I just cut these down. Anyway, okay, so 7 1/8 by 5 1/4 is what I ended up going with on here. And again, you could make these a little bit bigger or smaller. I was just trying to make sure this was nice and reinforced so that, you know, you don't have anything being like, you know, weirdly floppy or anything like that, I guess. Because this is lightweight chipboard that we're using. It's a little bit different than doing like normal chipboard, which initially was the one I had done at first, and it absolutely would not fit in the insert or in the little box, and it didn't fold together right, and it was just a giant mess, and it's in the recycle bin right now, so there you go. Okay, getting the tape, the backing off the tape for this one, and again, just centering this up and putting it down. And just burnishing with my hand. I don't need to get too crazy with this. And then I am going to go ahead and just fold these up. And where it's lightweight chipboard, it's actually super easy. And there's, you know, my ugly side that I pulled apart that I didn't really need to, but that's okay. All right, so again, just folding these up. It hasn't yet dawned on me that this is way too tight and there's no way this is going to work, but that's okay. I figured that out here off camera in about 5 minutes, where I then proceed to throw a mini tantrum and remake this off camera. Okay, so just still folding and training that where it's going to go. And the way this is going to go is the right side will actually fold in first, then the left, bottom, and then top. So this will be like all, you know, nice and compact and will fit in your thing. The sides do stick out just a tiny bit, but that's just the nature of how this goes together is the reason for that, and it's absolutely fine. I did end up putting a magnet in here, but because of the way I ended up matting it, the magnet really didn't want to hold after the fact. So, which again, that's partially too because it was Cartabella paper that I'm using for this, which is like really heavy. Like it's heavier than artisan cardstock. So, all right, so that goes in there, that goes there, and everything folds together. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my magnet on here. You don't have to have it you know, depending on how you do your matting, if you're using, you know, the Cartabella paper, if you're using something completely different, you should be, you know, that's definitely going to make a difference in this. So, got my magnets, getting the backing off of one of them, and just kind of dropping it down in the center so I don't have to worry about it bubbling up. You know, you don't want it too close to an edge. Get the backing off the other side. And then, of course, just fold that down and push, and that is attached. Okay, so there is our insert piece. We're just going to fit it and make sure everything's good. Got lots of space. Everything's good. Let's work on the inside. Okay, so let's work on our inside elements. First up, we've got a pocket. This is 7.5 by 5 1/4. With the 7.5 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Turn 1/2 inch and 1 inch again. Turn 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay. We then have a closure piece. This is 5.5 by 8. With the 8 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, and then, actually no, I'm sorry, 3/8 of an inch, and then 1 inch, because we need a little bit more of a space there. And I cut this before I thought that through, but it'll still work. Okay. Need 2 pieces, 7 1/8 by 5 1/2. With the 7 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score this at 1/2 inch and 5/8. Same thing with your other one, 1/2 inch and 5/8. And then we've got 2 more flaps, and these are 5.5 by 6. With the 6 inch at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score it 1/2 inch on both. Put those over with that one. And then we have a closure that is 1.5 by 5. Or I'm sorry, I guess that's 5.5. This will probably get trimmed down, so as long as it's 1.5 wide and at least 5 to 5.5 inches, it'll be fine. So with the long side at the top, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. And then the last piece is pockets, and you're going to want 5 of these. This is 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. I got this from my scraps from cutting some of my cardstock to wrap chipboard. So with the 6 1/2 at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch, turn, and 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to do this one first. So I am going to miter the bottom corners of my pocket. So I'm going to cut right through where those score lines intersect. You can miter the top part of your pocket if you want to, but it's okay if you don't. You'll do this on all 5 of these. Like I said, I've already got the rest of them done and in the book, so I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish this one and then put it in the book. And I should have prepped my glue because I'll bet you anything it's clogged. Oh, maybe it's not. Could be some kind of miracle. All right. So I've gone ahead and matted my insides and outsides. So this pocket, like I said, you're going to cut 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 6 of them. So 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then our last one is going to go over here. All right, move that for a minute. We're going to do our pocket next. And on this, better than I can see right there where I didn't actually get this scored quite right. What we are going to do is cut to the inside score line. And then cut here and there. Same thing over here. Okay. And then I'm actually going to miter up here. Okay. So this we are going to fold and burnish. And this is where you're going to kind of want to make sure that this little tab here gets mitered just a little bit so that it's not hanging over where it makes your pocket kind of stick out funny. So all I'm doing is just folding things out of the way so I can look at where that sits, and this other side of this one is fine. Okay. So again, fold and burnish. And burnish. All right. So just making sure I got this turned the right way. So this is going to come in here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get some glue on these two little tabs here. You're going to fold this bottom up so that your corner right here is flush. And I'm just going to hold that for a minute. And then make the same thing over here again. Hold that for a minute. And then I'm going to put some glue in this corner and in this corner. And I'm going to fold this down and pinch. There we go. That makes it a little bit easier to grab. Gotta turn it the right way. I'm just going to hold that for a minute while I wait for that to dry. And then we're going to go ahead and put this down. And then I am going to just take my bone folder and go in here to burnish those sides down. Okay. The closure, we are going to miter. That. So you are going to have kind of a short tab on this, and that's fine. We just want this to have a little bit of height because, and you'll see here I already matted this. I wasn't thinking about this, so I'll just end up covering that with either another strip of this same pattern or something else. I'll figure something out. That's going to go on there. But before we do that, let's assemble our flaps. So we're going to miter. And miter. Okay. So these are going to go in the center on the back side. which really you can put them, if you don't want to add in that little bit of a gusset, you can actually put these on top. I want them on the inside, which is where I have that 1/8 of an inch built in. Okay, so these are going to go in here, and you may need to trim just a sliver off of these so that they sit right. Just a tiny bit off these. Okay, so all I'm going to do is glue these down. You can offset them, you can center them up exactly, it's up to you. And same thing on here. Okay, and then this, we've got an 1/8 inch gusset on this one as well. So I'm going to fold my first line, and then I'm just going to kind of roll it over, and that will get that second score line. Okay. One of them is going to go in here up against the actually, I take it back. It's going to go this way, out here to this end. This is the problem when I because I don't do prototypes typically. But the only time I do a prototype project is if it's a retreat project. When it's just my normal day-to-day stuff, I typically kind of do it as I go. So this one actually does not need that second gusset in there. So I'm just going to miter down to that second score line. Because I think in my head I was putting this on differently. And that's not how I actually want to do it. So this one is actually going to come in here like so. Okay. I knew as I was doing it, something just didn't seem quite what I was thinking of when I was cutting it, but I couldn't figure out what. Okay, so this is going to go on there. This little piece, you can do it one of two ways. You can put it on this inside in here, or you can do it on the outside here. Okay, I am going to do it on the outside. So I am going to get my little tab there. I'm going to center this up. And truly, I should have been thinking ahead and actually put this on before I put the pocket in, but that's okay. If you're gentle, you won't crush your whole little box contraption here. Okay. And then I'm going to get glue on that tab. This will fit side to side on the top of this here. And this will go all the way to the end here. Okay. So we're good. And this will come down here, and I'm actually going to put a magnet on this. So let me find my magnets, because apparently I didn't. Oh, there they are. I did put them away. That's a first. All right. So I'm going to get the backing off of one of these. I'm going to put it partway down, enough so that I don't have won't have too much of an issue when this gets matted with it kind of bubbling up on me. And I'm going to go over. This actually probably needed a gusset as well, but it will be just fine. And down. Okay? So, I'm going to get together my, actually that does need a gusset on it. Okay, that does need a gusset. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheat. Because these are 1/8 of an inch thick. I need 1/8 of an inch gusset. So I'm going to hold this against this, and I'm going to use that as a straight edge to bend this over. Then I can push it back on itself, and I've got my gusset. Now, that is going to, actually, nope, my magnet is just fine. Okay, so there's going to be some little photo flip inserts that are going to go in here, but at this point, there you go. And this, of course, you could do this as a standalone project. That would be really cute. But this, of course, fits in here just like so. It does stand up just a bit, which is fine because you want to be able to just easily pull this in and out. I got it just a hair higher than I would have liked, but really, it's still fine. So let me get the photo inserts for this together, and I'll be right back.